Blackheath England, 1907. In a suburb outside of London, a precocious 3-year-old girl by the name of Dorothy Louise Eady slipped while walking down the stairs in her family's home. Little did anyone realize that this event would forever change the lives of many. Hearing the noise, her parents rushed to find Dorothy at the bottom of the stairs, unconscious and not breathing. The family doctor was immediately brought over and pronounced the young girl dead. The doctor placed her body on a bed and went to make arrangements. Upon returning a few minutes later, the doctor found Dorothy sitting up, wide awake, playing with her dolls. While physically Dorothy seemed to be fine, she soon began exhibiting strange behaviors, such as not recognizing common items or easily being scared of ordinary noises. The strangest took a bizarre turn when one day she began demanding that she be taken home. When her parents asked what she meant by that, she explained that she lived in a place where buildings were made of stone. Thinking that this was just the vivid imagination of a child, the parents ignored her pleas. Then one day Dorothy had been given a picture book full of images from around the world. After turning the page to a picture depicting ancient Egypt, she eagerly shouted, "This is my home." She quickly became obsessed with Egypt, and her demands to be taken home escalated. While her parents were concerned with her fixation, they attempted to quell her obsession with a visit to the Egyptian exhibit at the British Museum in London. Immediately, Dorothy ran to the statues and began kissing their feet. When her parents pulled her back, she claimed she knew these people. She pointed to the statue of Seti and said that she knew him and described him as a kindly old man. But what worried her parents even more was that Dorothy began running around the exhibit, speaking in an unknown language. From that day forward, Dorothy continually begged her parents to take her to the museum. So much so that by the time she was 10, she spent nearly every weekend at the Egyptian exhibit. It was there that the caretaker of the Egyptian antiquities for the British Museum, E.A. Walsbudge, took notice of the young girl's amazing knowledge. He mentioned that the museum offered classes in Egyptology. Dorothy quickly enrolled. Within weeks, her instructor was amazed that a child could learn hieroglyphics so quickly, saying, "What took adults years to barely grasp, a young girl has mastered in mere weeks." When asked how she did this, she simply said she had already learned it once before. It was during this time that Dorothy claimed that she had been born in ancient Egypt in the city of Abydos. She began to write a detailed account of her life in the ancient city of Abydos. She recounted customs and practices that not even scholars were aware of at the time, but what scholars found most perplexing is that she wrote the entire account, all 72 pages, in flawless, cursive, hieroglyphic text. A feat that very few scholars could do, let alone a young schoolgirl. Dorothy continued to exhibit mysterious knowledge of ancient Egypt, baffling scholars around the world, but it wasn't until her early 20s that Dorothy finally got her wish and moved to Egypt with her new husband, an Egyptian she had met back in London. They moved near the Giza Plateau, where she met famed archaeologist Salim Hassan, who immediately recognized her as someone with exceptional knowledge and recommended her for a position at the Egyptian Department of Antiquities, which was unheard of for someone with no education on the subject. She soon began working with archaeologists from around the world and helping them to understand Egyptian culture and translate hieroglyphs, even though she was not Egyptian nor possessed any formal education on the subject. Later in life, Dorothy moved to Abydos, a city from her dreams. It was there that the Temple of Seti resides. She took the name Omm Seti and began working on translating the temple's journals and books, which had stumped experts for decades. Her knowledge surpassed anything found in books at the time and baffled the experts. By now, she openly claimed that she had lived there in a past life, but even with her proven expertise, many attempted to test her assertions of a past life. The director of the Department of Antiquities asked her to enter a room in the Temple of Seti that had been kept locked for years. He brought her into the chamber in complete darkness and asked her what was on the walls. Omm Seti said that she had been there many times before in her past life and began pointing and translating the hieroglyphs, even though the wall paintings had never been published nor viewed by the outside world, not to mention that she could not see them because the room was in complete darkness. Once Omm Seti told archaeologists to dig in a certain location because she remembered a garden at that location. Much to the surprise of many, upon excavating the site, they found the garden. On another occasion, Omm Seti informed archaeologists of the location of the tomb of Nefertiti, a tomb experts had been trying to locate for decades. It wasn't until after her death that they took her seriously and found the royal chamber right where she said it was. While scholars cringed at Omm Seti's overt claim of reincarnation, no one ever labeled her crazy. Her expertise was valued too much by scholars, and as one put it, reincarnation is about the only explanation as to her knowledge of ancient Egypt. Her knowledge was so profound and uncanny that Egyptian government, in a once-in-a-lifetime move, made an exception to the country's law of mandatory retirement because the government found her knowledge too valuable and wanted to continue to utilize her unique expertise. Omm Seti passed in 1981, but to this day scholars still pore over her notes and journals, looking for information of a lost civilization, making the reincarnation of Omm Seti one of the most enigmatic stories of our time.